Hey everyone, welcome back and let's write some more neat code today. So today let's solve the problem split array largest sum. This is a hard problem. Now there is a solution to this problem that's kind of intuitive, but it doesn't really get accepted on Leetcode, and then there is a solution that's a lot harder. So I would say that this is probably borderline a crackhead problem, which we haven't solved one of those in quite a while. So this should be pretty interesting. I'll try to do my best to explain it in a very simple way. So we're given an array of nums, which consist of non-negative integers, so 0 or positive integers. And we're also given an integer m, which is basically the number of subarrays that we want to split nums into, and they have to be non-empty and contiguous, which is usually how subarrays are. But we want to split it in such a way that of those m subarrays, if we found the one that had the largest sum, that the largest sum would be minimized. That's our goal. So let's understand this with an example. So suppose this is the input array and we have to split it into two groups. One way would be to split it like that. So then one subarray has a sum of 8 and the other subarray has a sum of 24. So what's the largest sum among these two subarrays? Of course, it's 24, not 8. So the question is, were we able to minimize the largest sum? Is there a way that we could split this array where the largest sum would be less than 24? Definitely, right? You can tell that just by looking at it. This is the optimal place that we would have to split it. The sum on the right side would be 18. I think on the left side, it would be 14. So the largest sum in this case is 18. And that's about the best that we can do. If we try to split it, if we try to go over here, this sum is just going to be larger than 18. So no matter where we put the, thing, it's always going to be larger than 18. So in this case, we would return the largest sum, which we found to be 18. Now, the first way to kind of tackle this problem is definitely the brute force. And when I say brute force, I mean kind of backtracking, going through every single possibility. In this case, this is our input array. We have m equals 2. We need to split it into two groups. So how can we do it? Well, we can say that this is the first group, or we can say this is the first group, or this is the first group, or this is the first group. We can't say that this is the first group, because if we do that, then we have no more values left for the second group. So this is the largest that the first group could possibly be. So basically, for our first decision, we have 4 different branches that we could take. For each of those branches, suppose that the first branch was if we just take 7 as the first subarray, then after that, we'll pretty much only have one choice, because in this case, m equals 2, we have to take the remainder of the elements to be a part of the second group. So in this case, since m equals 2, it's a little bit simplified, but you know that m could be 3, it could be 4, it could be a lot larger. And then our tree would be very large as well. So that wouldn't be very efficient. But if you do code up this backtracking solution, you can find out that the main parameters that you're going to be passing in to the backtracking is going to be 1, I, the index that we're starting at, as we go through this subarray, as we build groups. And every time we build a group, we're going to take our m parameter and decrement it by 1. So that's the second parameter we're going to be maintaining. So we're maintaining 2 variables. So we can use these to cache them. So we can cache our backtracking based on these 2 variables. You'll also notice that inside of the function itself, you're going to have a loop if you do code it up, though it doesn't get accepted on Leetcode. But you're going to have a loop. You're going to, let's say we're building the nth group. This could be the nth group, this could be the nth group, this could be the nth group, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where that while loop comes from. So we can just kind of assume that a while loop is going to have a big O time complexity of n, where n is the size of the input array. So the number of times we're going to be calling and caching our recursive method is going to be n comes from this I, because I could be at any position in this input array. M is just an input parameter itself. And then within that function itself, we're also going to have a big O of n while loop. So the overall time complexity is going to be n squared times m. We could code that up, but it doesn't get accepted on Leetcode. And just to kind of give you a glimpse, this is what that solution would look like. I'm not going to go in super detail. And actually, this does sometimes get accepted on Leetcode. It's kind of random. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, because we added one little if statement over here, which is kind of a micro optimization. It doesn't change the big O time complexity, but I guess it makes it efficient enough so that it can pass on Leetcode. You could also take this memoization solution and get the true dynamic programming solution if you wanted to. But there's actually an even better solution, which is the crackhead solution. In my opinion, it's not something that you'd probably come up with by yourself. Okay, so now let's get into the much more difficult solution. Let me tell you what it's going to be and then how we can code it up. It's going to be a binary search solution. Now, once I explain it to you, I bet you're going to think, yeah, that actually does make a lot of sense. But you're also going to be wondering, how would I ever be able to come up with that by myself? And that's a good question. Honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I hope that your interviewer would give you a hint. So suppose we're given the exact same input array. And just to make things a little bit more interesting, let's say we have m equals 3. And remember, we're trying to take this input array, split it into m subarrays such that the largest sum of those m subarrays is going to be minimized. The first question is, what's the range of possibilities that the largest sum could even be? What's the minimum it could possibly be? Well, the minimum has to be whatever the largest individual integer is in the input array. And actually, I just realized I put an 18 over here instead of an 8, but that doesn't really change anything significant. But remember, every one of these integers has to go in some subarray. Either this is going to be a subarray by itself, or it's going to include some other integers. But still, since all of these are going to be greater than or equal to 0, that means that the smallest the result could possibly be is going to be whatever the largest individual integer is. That's simple enough. Now, what is the largest that the result could possibly be? Well, in theory, it could be the sum of the entire input array. But you're probably thinking, well, we have to split it into 3 subarrays, right? So we can't possibly have this as a solution. And you're right, but this is still the easiest way to do it, because if we don't do it that way, what would we do? Would we find the largest of this group and then this group and then this group as well to make sure that we're actually splitting it into 3 groups? We could do that, but that's going to be less efficient. So we're just going to take the sum of the entire input array and say that that's the largest that the result could possibly be. So remember, the minimum that the result could possibly be is the maximum of the input array. The max that the result could possibly be is the sum of the input array. So if we take this as our left boundary and this as our right boundary, we can try to create a binary search on this range of possible solutions. So then these are going to be our left and right boundaries. And at that point, we're going to kind of do a standard binary search. We're going to add these two together, find the midway point. In this case, we'll just round down. So we'll say that the midpoint happens to be 27. But now you're probably wondering, what does this value even mean? And how can we use it to actually do our binary search? Well, first of all, remember these represent the possible range of solutions. The solution we're looking for is what's the largest sum among those m subarrays. So now the very simple question we need to answer with this value is, can we take the input array, split it into 3 groups such that the largest sum of those 3 groups happens to be less than or equal to 27? If that's the case, that means we found a new minimum, because initially this is the range that we're searching on. So we're going to initially assume the worst. We're going to say that the best solution we can find so far is 37. But if we find that we can take the input array, split it into 3 groups where the maximum sum of those 3 groups is less than or equal to 27, that means we found a better solution. So instead of saying 37 is the solution so far, we're going to say 27 is the solution so far. But the question is, how can we take the input array and determine if we can split it into 3 groups where the maximum size of each group is less than or equal to 27? Well, that's actually the easiest part. It's a very simple, greedy algorithm. So what we're going to do is start at the beginning of this input array, 7. So okay, we have a subarray so far of 7. That is less than the maximum target that a subarray could be. So we are good there. So we'll add another value. Now the sum is 9. We're still below the threshold. Then we add a 5. So now we're at a sum of 14. We're still under the threshold. Then we add a 10. Now we're at 24, still below the threshold. Okay, but then we add an 18. So at that point, we're definitely over the threshold. So what do? Well, we say that we can't have this be a subarray, but we can have this be a subarray. This was the biggest subarray we could have created. We were being greedy. So now when we want to include this 18, we're going to put it in a separate subarray and we're going to continue the algorithm. But we find we ran out of values, but we only have 2 subarrays. We were trying to create 3. So my question is this a problem that we only have 2 subarrays? It's not a problem at all. Let me tell you why. The goal was to create 3 subarrays where the maximum sum of those 3 subarrays was less than 27. We created 2 subarrays that followed that condition. So it would be very easy for us to create 3 if we wanted to. We could literally just take this one and split it so that we have 3, right? We know that if the entire subarray is less than 27, then if we split it, it's definitely going to be less than 27. So in this case, we found that yes, we can split the input array into 3 subarrays where the maximum sum of those 3 subarrays is less than or equal to 27. So at that point, we would change our binary search. Well, first we would say our result so far now, instead of being 37, is 27. And now we would update our binary search. We would update the right portion because initially it was 37, but now we would set it to be 27 minus 1, 26, because we already know that 27 is a valid value, so there's no need to search it anymore. We're going to go one below that, and then this would be our new binary search range. And we would basically just continue that binary search until we found the smallest result possible. So that's pretty much the algorithm. Coding it up is not too difficult. I think coming up with it is definitely the hardest part. By the way, the time complexity, since our range that we're going to be searching over, in the worst case, the size of the range could basically be what the sum is. Suppose if the max number was, let's say 1, then the range would be defined by whatever the sum of the input array is. So the time complexity is going to be log of s, where s is the sum of the input array. But also remember, we have that algorithm where we have to check, can we split it into 3 groups, below this. So that is going to be an O of n time algorithm. So n times this. I think what makes this hard compared to other binary search problems is usually with binary search, you're just doing a single comparison. But in this case, we have a linear time method that's being used alongside the binary search. But with all that said, let's code it up now. Okay, so now let's code it up. Remember, we're going to have 2 boundaries. Left is going to be the maximum of nums. That's basically the smallest result that we could possibly return. The maximum result we could possibly return is the sum of the entire input array nums. And initially, we're going to set our result equal to be the larger of the 2, because we want to just initially assume the worst. We could also set this to be float of infinity, but this is the largest that the result could possibly be, so this is a little bit better, I guess. And then it's mainly going to be a standard binary search. While left is less than or equal to right, we're going to compute the mid. I'm not calling this m because remember we have a separate variable m. But usually what we do to compute the middle is left divided by right, left plus right divided by 2. But sometimes this can lead to overflow. It definitely can't in Python, but in other languages it can. So the slightly better way to write this where it won't ever lead to overflow is right minus left, and then take left and add that to it. So this is doing the exact same thing. It's just doing it so that it can't overflow. This is still computing the midway point between left and right. But then we want to know this mid. Using this mid, can we split nums into m groups where the largest sum of those groups is less than or equal to mid? So I'm going to create a helper function to kind of help us do that. I'm going to call it can split, and we're going to pass in mid as the largest that it can possibly be. If we can split it, what do we know? Well, that means we've found a smaller result. So our result can be set to mid. And we're going to update our binary search range to look for smaller values now. We're going to set right equal to mid minus 1. In the else case, that means we could not use this as a result. So we're not going to update our result. But we are going to take our left pointer and set it to be mid plus 1. So now to actually implement the can split method, the parameter is going to be whatever the largest number happens to be. And the question we're asking is, can we split nums into m groups where the max size of those m groups is less than or equal to largest? Well, first we're going to basically count the number of subarrays that we can create. And we're also going to maintain what the current sum is. Initially, we're going to set it to be 0. Remember, this is a greedy algorithm. It's very simple. We're starting at the beginning, going through every single value, adding to the current sum. And if we ever get to the point where current sum exceeds the largest that it can possibly be allowed to be, then we're going to say that, okay, this is going to go in its own group. We can identify that by taking our subarray count, adding 1 to it, and then updating our current sum not to be 0, but to actually be n itself. Because we know after adding n to the current sum, that's when it exceeded the largest. So what we're saying is we don't want to add n to the current sum. We want n to start in a separate subarray. So that's why current sum is initially being set to n. And then after this loop is done, the question we're going to ask is the number of subarrays less than or equal to m? But we can't just make this comparison, because notice how we're only adding 1 to the subarray after we have to create a second subarray. So actually the total number of subarrays is going to be subarray plus 1, or you could initially set subarray equal to 1, but I feel like that's a little bit less readable. If this line doesn't make sense, it's actually simpler than it might seem. I would just recommend running through an example on like pen and paper. So basically, if this is true, that means we can split. If it's not true, that means we would have exceeded the largest threshold. Okay, and by the way, I forgot that in Python, if you're doing nested functions, we should probably define that function before we actually call it down below. But other than that, there's not really any changes necessary. This is the entire code. Let's run it to make sure that it works. And as you can see on the left, yes, it does, and it's very efficient. So I really hope that this was helpful. If it was, please like and subscribe. It really supports the channel a lot. Consider checking out my Patreon where you can further support the channel, and hopefully I'll see you pretty soon. Thanks for watching.